vine in the wild sort of wraps itself around a tree, doesn't produce much fruit, to be honest. It's really lazy. This is all about controlled growth. So this trellis system is called a VSP, a vertical shoot positioning trellis system. It's the most commonly used system in a cool climate. Do I think it's great for our vineyard? No, I don't. So we are working with some top vine pruners at the moment, Tito and Marco from Italy, Similar and Search. They work for a lot of vineyards all over the world. One is Stag's Leap in Napa Valley, so we're very lucky to have them because they're pretty famous when it comes to vine pruning. I was talking to them about it, and they agree with me that we need a slightly wider trellis wire system to let in more air and light, because in this country the biggest challenge is obviously not enough sunshine sometimes, and we're usually very wet here. We're having an exceptionally dry summer. We usually have a lot of rain, and that creates obviously humidity and powdery and downy mildew. So the idea is that you're going to train your vines high off the ground. This is why we use these systems. This is why we established them to begin with, because we have deer and rabbits in the vineyard. It certainly stops the bunnies because they can't reach the shoots and the grapes. The deer are another matter altogether. It doesn't stop the deer. We're not too bad here actually, but up at another vineyard further away, they have tons of deer, so we're not too bad. And also it's good for airflow in a damp country. You know, keep lots of airflow through the vines, avoid any cold ground in the spring. And then how you're going to prune them, I'm just going to take these off, they shouldn't be here. Should not, we do not want that there. So how you're going to prune them, you traditionally, if you come a bit closer, you'll see that all of the fruiting canes have always been taken off the crown of the vine. This is very common practice. But sadly what this does to, this is an 18-year-old vine, you can see it's got a nice woody trunk, nice and thick. By constantly taking from the crown of the vine, you end up with a lot of dead wood, and dead wood attracts fungus. And in a damp country, fungus is more prevalent, and if you get fungus, then you're going to get a really bad flow of sap. The vine isn't going to flourish, and you get a lot of congestion, and you're not getting the nutrients flowing through the vine properly, and we've had basically bad growth because of this. And so Tito and Marco said you need to stop taking the fruiting canes from the crown of the vine. You need to train the vine fruiting canes to the side of the vine. So you can see here, these are a couple of years old now, these spurs here. And we're growing our fruiting canes off these spurs, so we're taking the pressure off the central crown. And it's starting to help the flow of sap, productivity. So when it comes to winter pruning, each year we'll always choose two to three healthy looking fruiting canes for the previous year. So this is last year's wood. And when you train in pruning, it's fascinating because obviously to begin with you spend ages thinking, am I going to kill the vine? Am I going to choose the right two fruiting canes? Which one do I choose? And you're looking about positioning. So for example, maybe for next year, you're going to think, well, which one is in a really happy position off this arm? Probably that one there, to be honest, because it's got a good flow. So you're going to obviously tie them down and hopefully get even growth. That's the idea. But it takes quite a long time to establish a grapevine. You're going to look at up to 4 or 5 years really until you can use worthy enough grapes to make the wine. We tend to say here in England 4 years. The grapes just aren't mature enough and big enough. Stephen wrote in his book, interesting enough, in his autobiography, that it really took 10 years to properly establish the vines so they could produce decent enough grapes. He said for the first 6 years it took 5 vines to make 1 bottle of wine. That is terrible. That's really not good. Usually in Champagne you get at least 2 bottles of wine from 1 vine, not 5 vines to make 1 bottle. So it does take time, and then it's going to take 3 to 4 years to make the sparkling wine, which we'll talk about when we do the tasting. So really when you start adding it up, it's 8 years before you're going to get any wine. So if you're looking to start a vineyard from scratch and you want to produce sparkling wine, you have a long time to wait. You better have some backup basically, or buy an established vineyard. Let's walk a little bit further. If you do feel up for walking a slightly bit